Moni Mantra, Mary Collins, and two others immediately joined. Okay, I just want to welcome you. You're the first ones to join in. Super excited. Today is Tuesday, and I'm really thrilled to be here. I'm always super happy to be joining my Instagram community, our Instagram community, because it's all, oh, hi, Jen Pastoff, how are you? I love that. Bintu Agne, there you are. I like to come on here because it makes me feel like I'm in community, makes me feel like I'm talking to people who want to rise above the noise, who want to move humanity forward, who want to be on the right side of history. It just makes me feel good to see all of you people come on here and take time out of your busy days to spend some time with me. So let me begin by just saying thank you for that. Thank you for your support of the Sunday paper, MOSH, the Women's Alzheimer's Movement, all the things that I do. It means so much to me. So I just want to welcome all of you. Hi, Kristen Meekoff from Michigan. Hi, Weber Jodine. Hi, Debbie. Hi, Phil Cook, 28. Hi, Matt Braverman. How are you, Maggie Girl? I love all these names. Hi, Ro, sending you love. I know a lot of you also joined in and said prayers when I posted that picture last night for Sydney and her family. Hi, Deborah Roberts. I love that. Anyway, I want to thank you all who joined in that big prayer circle. Keep them going. So I want to thank you for that. It means a lot to that family that's struggling, and I think anybody who's had a baby and when it's a fragile situation, they want all the prayers they can get. So thank you for doing that, joining us in that prayer circle. I just wanted to tell you I'm so excited that we're going to be talking to this woman today. She's known as the Korean Vegan. This is her new cookbook. Her real name is Joanne Lee Molinaro, but this is her new cookbook. And I just love her. I just love her. And this is something because, as many of you know, I don't cook at all, and I'm not vegan. But I just love her, so I'm really excited to be talking to her because I think she's doing something really unique and that stopped me when I first found her. And yeah, Jen says, Joanne. Yep, yay, Joanne. Yeah, yay, Joanne. I don't know Joanne, but I feel like I do know Joanne. So I love that. That's one of the benefits, the good benefits of social media. I know we're always talking about all the negative things that exist in social media, but that's one of the really good things. You can discover people who are putting real light out into the world and who are using their platforms to inform, to inspire, to connect. And so I'm super excited about that, but I'm equally excited. Oh, there is the Korean vegan. There she is. I was just talking about her. I wanted to kind of, a little bit, and she's right on time. Lord have mercy. She's like only 2 minutes she gave me. But I'm, hi!
Hi! I'm so excited.
This is so exciting. I'm so excited to talk with you.
Oh my God, ditto? Like way ditto.
I was just saying, I was going to talk on about you, but then there you were. So I said, I'll just bring her in because, first of all, congratulations. This is beautiful.
Thank you.
It's so beautiful. I was just telling people about it. It's going to be an instant bestseller for sure.
Oh, you're so sweet.
I was looking through the recipes and I was like, I actually could try that. I actually could eat that. So that getting somebody like me who does not think vegan, I haven't tried it, but I thought, I was like, this looks really beautiful. The pictures, the recipes are laid out, but this is not your average cookbook. This is like part memoir, part history lesson, part, stop and think about your life book and a cookbook all in one. How do you describe it, Joanne?
I think you described it perfectly, but that's because you're Maria Shriver. But I mean, it is really like all of those things. Yeah. And I think ultimately I wanted to do something that was very intentional and mostly that honored my parents, because I love my parents so much, and I felt like their stories deserve to be heard. So I really wanted to do them justice as much as their food justice.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. I was reading through it and I thought, it's so often now we hear people saying, my parents did this, or I don't like my parents, or my parents were the problem. And your introduction and all the way through, like, I hope my grandparents are proud of me. I love my parents so much. I want to elevate their stories. I want to tell you about them. It's such a refreshing thing that you actually stop and notice that, that it's like, wow, this is a well adjusted, happy person who loves her parents.
I know. I'm so cliche.
No,
You know.
but the other thing is, I want to say, I don't know. I was thinking to myself last night, thinking about this. Where did I find you? How did I find you? How did I become connected to you? And I remember scrolling through Instagram and I saw the post where you said, they say true love lasts forever. And you threw down a knife and you're like, wrong. And I'm like, this girl's my jam. Okay, who is she? I'm like, what is this? I thought this was a chef. Okay. And I think it's been so, the word is so kind of initially surprising and then so inspiring to hear you talk about, mental health issues, deeply personal issues, along with your cooking video. How did you get that idea to do that?
Well, I think that a couple of things. I have been very fortunate to have a community on Instagram and elsewhere where women feel very open to share their sorrow and their struggle with me. And, and I know you've experienced this because I see it on your Instagram, is there's like this echoing effect when I hear other women tell me, hey, something you said or you shared really resonated with me, and I want to share a little bit more with you about my struggle with eating or with my ex-husband or an abusive relationship. And when that happens, then that in turn inspires me, right, to be
Yeah.
even more intentional with my content. What can I do to show other people, and especially other women, that there is an answer, there is a solution, and that solution can restore joy to you? Like, that is like the central message of the Korean vegan. It's like, oh my gosh, there is joy out there. And I feel like so many times, again, a lot, the women in my family, certainly, I think they think that, no, I'm not allowed to have joy. I'm not
Yeah.
allowed to be happy. I have to be a mom. I have to be a wife. I have to be a good grandmother. And those things don't include joy. And that hurts me so much because I
Yeah.
don't think that's true.
That's such a generational thing too, but I think it's a really kind of present thing now. Everybody's working, trying to be earnest, trying to make a living, trying to be the best caregiver. And then of course everybody's like, nobody wants to be called a bad mom, a bad this, a bad that. So that kind of pressure. But tell me, did you think twice about any of the stories that you've told as you were cooking along?
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. And
Which one? Which one?
for sure, this was the one that I think that you had shared, which is the one about self-harm. I mean,
Yeah.
that one was that was hard for me to share. And I was very nervous about it because I am, still a practicing attorney. And at the time I was a partner at a large law firm, and I have clients, very, big companies are my clients. And I was very nervous that my clients would see that my fellow partners at my law firm would see that video and think, well, she's not capable of being a lawyer. She's not strong enough to be a good lawyer. And so I was very nervous about that. But at that time, it was also Mental Health Awareness Month. And I really wanted to contribute something that was honest and that challenged people to be honest with themselves as well about their mental health.
What was the, because we're going into that again, what was the reaction you got by sharing your story about cutting? Because it was so kind of like, whoa.
I think that, again, it encouraged other people who suffered from mental health issues, even if it wasn't self-harm, but something very similar to that, to feel like they didn't have to be ashamed about it. that they don't have to be ashamed of mental health struggles, that in fact, being ashamed of it and trying to hide it or disguise it is probably going to make things way worse. And so if you read the comments and certainly all the DMs that I received, the overwhelming majority of them were other people who struggled with similar issues who were saying, I can relate, and here's my story. Here's a little snippet, a little sliver of kind of my life in that way. And again, talk about healing. I mean, that's how people heal. They share these moments with each other and prove to each other that they're not alone in their pain.
Do you see yourself? I mean, you have so many. You're a lawyer, although I was watching you the other day saying you're leaving your law firm to devote yourself full time to this. So bravo. That's a jump. That's a leap of faith.
It is.
Which is great. So you're, and you're a mom, right? And
no, I'm not a mom. I'm not a mom.
Oh, you're not a mom. I mean, you're a daughter. You're a daughter and a wife, but you're a content creator and a storyteller and a healer. Is one of those more important to you as you see yourself, or is it all a mixing bowl?
Well, I think this again is the cliche, very correct answer, which is I'm always going to be a daughter first. Like, I love my parents so much. Like, there's nothing, like, everything that I do, like, in some way is about honoring my family and going back to showing them how grateful I am for their sacrifice. Look, Maria, I was like a terrible kid, like so rebellious. I was so disobedient. Like, my parents were pulling out their freaking hair. Like, they were like constantly, what are we gonna do with this girl? She's like such a nightmare. Like, I made my parents cry all the time when I was little. I don't want to come across.
What was that about?
Like, just because I was very opinionated. Like, I didn't take no for an answer. I always felt like if I believed something was right and my parents were wrong, well, they would hear it from me. Like, I wasn't just gonna like swallow it and like be like, okay, fine, my mom and my dad said no. I'd be like, no, you're wrong, and this is why you're wrong. So I was very like vocal about my opinions, and I've been like that my whole life. But it took me a long time to like realize, look, my parents are human. My mom and my dad are rife with error. They make mistakes, but they love me and they have given up so much for me. And I, as their daughter, like, that means so much to me right now, especially because I know they're getting older and I don't have much time with them left. And I want to make the most of that.
I read in an interview when I was preparing for this that you said, which made me laugh, that your parents come from a generation where you go to work, you have a job, you get a salary and all this sort of stuff, and that so being a content creator, an influencer on Instagram is like not in their, like, that's what you're doing for a living, that's success and stuff. So how have you been able to bring them along on this journey and explain to them the power, the healing power, the education power, because you're educating all of us about what Korean cuisine actually is compared to what we think it is, right? And you're educating us about the history of your culture and all of this, but how do you get them to see this as serious? Actually, I thought that was funny.
Yeah, it is. It was a funny conversation. It was a little fraught too, Maria, to be honest, because it was probably the first argument that my mom and I had in over a decade. Like, we don't fight anymore. We're like really good friends. We respect each other, and I love her so much, and she knows that. But when I told her that I was going to quit being a lawyer and go full-time content creator, that was the first time I'd seen a sign of the old mom, like, like being like,
what did she say? What did she say?
She was like, no, like, you're not doing that. Like, and it was just so strange because normally she's just like, very like, oh, okay, so supportive. And like, but she was like, no, you're not doing that. Like, she was very adamantly against it. And then she went on and on about why it was such a terrible idea and how I needed a steady paycheck and I had such a great job and that this is ridiculous and all this stuff. And I really had to explain to her, be honest with her, at the end of the day, Alma, like, you being like this is kind of hurting my feelings. Like, I'm 42 years old and I think I've earned a little bit more respect than that. Don't you believe in your daughter by now? That is kind of how I appeal to her is, Amma, like, I'm your daughter and I need your support. Can't you support me in this? And I think when that conversation shifted to that, then it became harder for her to give into her anxiety. And the instinct to be my mom really kicked in very strongly at that point. Whereas, okay, I got to shelve the anxiety that I have for my daughter and be strong for her because she needs my support in this.
Yeah.
And so now she's, very supportive. She's excited for me. She thinks that I'm making the right decision. But at first, Marie, it was not a good conversation.
There's another story in this book. I wish if we had time, once some people said to put up the book again, but you have this story in here, which once again, I laughed out loud, but it's not supposed to be funny, but I have that kind of sense of humor. Where you talk about that you are about to get married for the first time and in 4 months, and you go over to your parents' house to have a meal, and your mother brings out the food and a note underneath of it. Tell the audience a little bit about this, because I was just like, oh my God.
Yeah, that was my reaction too. I was like, oh my God, is this actually happening right now? Like, you guys are doing this to me. The New Year is like a very special holiday, and I go back every year to my mom to get this special soup that she makes on New Year's Day. It's called tteokguk. And so, like, when your mom is making you this soup on New Year's Day, it's supposed to be like with love and like intention. And I'm like, I'm so excited to eat this soup. And then she passes this card over, and I'm like, oh, I bet there's $100 bill in there, which is, again, very traditional in Korean culture. You give money to your children on New Year's Day. So that's what I thought it was. And I opened the card. There's no money in there. And it's a card basically telling me I shouldn't marry my fiance, even though my wedding was scheduled 4 months from then. And I was absolutely flabbergasted and completely outraged. I was indignant. And I was like, how dare you say this about my fiance? I'm in love with him. I only love him. There's nobody else in the world for me. But, my parents, they could see like I was headed into disaster zone, and they wanted to protect me from that. And that is like my mom's instinct. And I don't know if, as a mother, you've probably felt this, is there's this overwhelming instinct to protect me from harm instead of allowing me to simply learn from harm.
Yeah.
And she wanted so bad to just, I remember she was telling me, please date other men. There are so many other men out there. And I was like, wow, my mom's actually telling me to date more men. It's like such a weird conversation.
That sounds very familiar, but I didn't get a note. I got a conversation, but I didn't get a note. I just thought that was, and this book is filled with personal stories like that, right? In between the recipes, which is what I find so really groundbreaking that you're doing, as I said, because I'm not following your recipe really as you're doing it. I'm listening to your story. I'm listening, and I'm finding connection with the way you're talking, whether it's about mental health, whether it's talking about your job, whether it's talking about women's rights, all of these subjects. Joanne goes through, and she does it in a very calm, creative, but firm way. How did you find your voice with that?
Oh, that's a really good question, Maria. I mean, I think, as I'm sure I know you've experienced, it's like that process is evolving like every day, right? It's like who I was a year ago, who I was 4 years ago, the person I am changes. And as a result of that, the voice that kind of articulates my thinking and my positions, that also changes too. But I think ultimately, I hate to say it, but me being a lawyer probably has a lot to do with the way that I communicate. And I try to be very clear. I try to be very succinct. And I also try to make sure that there is a very defined arc in the message that I'm giving, so that people feel like they walk away and they've heard an entire idea, not just pieces of it. So I write a lot. I write out all of my stories on my cooking videos. Yeah, I write them out word for word. And so, again, I'm trying to be very thoughtful about every word that goes into this. I only get 60 seconds. You know what I'm saying? It's like every word counts.
So I was just looking at one of these comments, and they were saying, you know, that you're a rock star in the Korean community. I think she's just a rock star in all communities. But I want to ask you that: do you feel a big responsibility to the Korean community, to whether it's stepping in front of saying "Stop Asian Hate"? Do you feel like you have to take political stances also because you are quote unquote a rock star in the Korean community?
I would say that a couple of things. First of all, anytime a member of the Korean community says things like that, it does move me in a specific way, right? Because I think that for much of my life, even before I went vegan, I did feel a little bit like on the outside looking in
Yeah.
terms of the Korean community because I wasn't Korean enough, you know. I did things that my Korean friends didn't do, like I went into theater or majored in English, things like that. So that always makes me feel incredibly warm. I think in terms of, do I feel like I have to or do I feel obligated to? I don't feel obligated to anybody other than myself. It's like, this is who I am. It's been who I am my whole life. I feel obligated to the person inside of me to take up these issues, to voice my opinion, because I don't know any other way to be.
I love that because I did not grow up like that. I love the answer. Like, I feel obligated to myself, and how did you get like that? I'm always like, oh my God, I was raised with you're obligated to the society, you're obligated to the world, you're obligated out there, and I don't even want to hear about yourself. So, I mean, I think that that's all often women have a particular challenge with that, right? They're obligated to their family, they're obligated to their work, they feel obligated to take care of people. And I think it's such a powerful thing to say, like, I'm obligated to myself first and foremost. And where did that come from?
Well, I think some of it came from my dad. My dad is very political, and he has always been very open about his views on democracy and justice. Like, those are two themes that are like part and parcel of his personality. And I think I sort of inherited that from him. Like, how could I not, like, growing up with that sort of narrative constantly playing in the background of our home and growing up. So that's something that I inherited from him. I think my mother taught me how to voice my opinion. She is a very opinionated lady and she is very, like, fierce about her opinion. And so when you combine those two things, that's how you get me. And so when I say that, I'm obligated to me, it's more just like, I would be a liar if I acted any other way. And I don't know, I hate lying. Like, I don't like being anything other than what my natural impulse is. And so even though sometimes I feel like I'm being a pain in the ass, or I'm talking too much, or I'm being too much of a, political person, I'm like, I'm sorry, this is who I am. I can't change it.
And what made you, Joanne, say, you have this, like your mother was saying, you have this lucrative career, you're a lawyer in Chicago, it takes so long to work your way up to that. What made you think, I'm going to take a leap of faith in myself to do creative content, to go all in here?
Oh, I think that there are, first of all, a lot of people along the way who have made similar leaps in their lives and have at least proven to me that it can be done, right?
Her,
And I think
like
that's
her.
very important. Like Rich Roll, amazing podcaster. He was also a lawyer. He's also a vegan. He's also a runner. So there were a lot of parallels in my
Right.
life to him. And so it made me feel bold enough to think that maybe I could do something a little different like he did. I also had a very good friend. Close girlfriends are invaluable. And I'm very blessed to have one. And she told me, look, Joanne, I'm sure you're a great lawyer, but I'm also certain that your law firm can find somebody to do exactly what you do at the law firm. But there's nobody who can do what you do as the Korean vegan. Doesn't that mean something to you? And of course it meant something to me. And it stuck in my head for like a year and a half. And after, thinking about it a lot and actually getting a chance to meet Rich Roll, I ultimately decided that, you know what, like you said, I'm going to take a leap of faith on myself. I'm going to see if I can do this. And you know what? Even if I can't, even if everything else fails, I know me. And I know that I am that person that was tough enough to do all the things that brought me to this point. And so I'll be tough enough to get back up if I fail.
I love that. That's so great. Several people have asked me here how you became a vegan. I read it in the book, and but go ahead and answer the question.
Yeah, so a lot of things sort of went into that process, but there were like a few like really important like, you know, things that pushed me in that direction. And number one, of course, is my then boyfriend and now husband who wanted to go plant-based. And I was like, okay, whatever. I don't want to go plant-based. You do it on your own. So I just I didn't want to do it. But he was very persistent and we were new in our relationship, and I felt like food is fellowship. You know, that's very important to me. Like feeding somebody is very important way of showing love. That is, again, very endemic of, you know, my culture. And I was like, well, if I can't feed him the food that I'm making him, which was, you know, still chicken and beef, then we're going to lose that. So I decided, okay, you know what? I'll try it. I'll try it for a couple of weeks. What's the worst that can happen? Like, I'm not going to die, you know? So I tried it for a couple of weeks. It was much easier than I expected. And then my father, he was diagnosed with prostate cancer, like literally within that 2-week time period. And I had just watched a movie, again, at my then boyfriend's behest, about the link between the consumption of red meat and the rise in prostate cancer in East Asian men, in particular Korean men. And so it just was so on point. Like, it was such a weird thing to happen, like at that point in my life. And I, you know, I don't necessarily believe in all things cosmic and karmic, but I do believe that there are things out there that are unknown and in the universe. And I was like, this could be the universe giving me a sign, and I'm going to listen. You know, it's not that hard. So I'm happy to listen. And that's when I decided I'm never eating meat again.
So several people just said, is that the same fiance, now husband, that the mom wrote about? No.
No, that is not the same husband. No, that is my previous husband. My current husband is wonderful. And my mom like cried when he proposed. She was like happier that he proposed than I was, probably.
And he came up with the name, the Korean vegan, right?
He did. He did.
And was he supportive, obviously, of your leap into this full time?
He was. I think he was, you know, my husband is a concert pianist and he's been an artist his entire career. So this is an area that he's very familiar with, and thus feels very confident in terms of advising me on. And he's been telling me I should go full time with the Korean vegan for many years. And me, again, as the risk averse lawyer, was like, I don't know. And it took prodding from a number of different people to finally make me feel like, all right, I can do this. But I will say, Maria, like having a partner like Anthony, who's not just this incredible cheerleader, but who's always reminding me, babe, like no matter what happens, we will land on our feet. I have more faith in us than anything else in the world. Having that voice in my ear every time I start to feel uncertain is invaluable. Like I can't put a number to how important that is to me.
That actually kind of makes me cry.
I'm very lucky.
Yeah. No, to have somebody who says to you, no matter what, because we're all so afraid of failure. People don't want to do something because they think then people won't love them or won't care about them. So to have somebody that says, babe, no matter what, we're going to land on our feet, we're going to be okay, is, as you said, invaluable. And so is also the ability to listen, as you said, to friends. I love the piece of advice to leave people with, though, that what you can do uniquely is yours, right? That your girlfriend said, they can always get a lawyer, right, that does that, right? But nobody can do what you're doing. That is your superpower. Would you agree? Do you think that's your superpower?
I think that I have been given a great opportunity. And I do think, yes, I have some skill as a storyteller. I'm pretty good around the kitchen. I like beautiful things. Other people like beautiful things. And I think, Maria, like one concept that I'm always talking about, I listened to this great podcast with David Epstein. He wrote this wonderful book. It's a New York Times bestseller called Range. And he talks about how, you know, people feel like they need to focus on one thing for their entire lives and just get good at that one thing. And that's the secret to success. And he says, actually, studies prove that the secret to success is failing at a bunch of things, and then creating this completely unique tapestry of experiences, skills, and knowledge that nobody else has, because you tried all these little different things, right? And that's really my life. Like, I feel like I have a finger in a lot of different things, and the way that I kind of corral them all together to create who I am is very much Joanne, and there's nobody else who can do it that particular way. And that's what you do. You have this incredible rich body of experience and knowledge and talent and voice, and that is what creates Maria Shriver, you know? So I think that is, you know, whether you call it a superpower or a talent or a skill, I think it's just life experience.
I love that. That is so well said, because everybody listening can take away from that and think about their unique experiences
Yes.
in life, the ups, the downs, the failures, the successes, and all of that is unique to you. And that is what the gift you bring, right?
Yes.
Because the two, you have a completely different set of experiences than I do, and I have a different set. And then we're living a time now when we can be creative enough to take those things and think, okay, how can I use them? And I love that you're using those talents for good. You're using them to, I always say, to inspire and inform. You're combining that, which is always the lane that I like to work in, where you inform and inspire, and you try to move humanity forward. So through Joanne's work, we not only learn about how to be a vegan, we not only learn how to cook, we learn about her family, we learn about Korean culture. I mean, a lot of stuff, you know, how I would say so many of us, and I put myself in that, are ignorant about so many parts of different cultures, right?
Yeah.
Kind of play on the surface. Oh, I know this or I know that. But just in reading the book last night in bed, you know, I was like, there's so much in here that I didn't know about Korean culture. And obviously that I didn't know about Joanne and her family. But it's just been so great. I'm so glad to finally meet. I was born in Chicago.
Oh, then come back.
I lived there for the first 5 years of my life.
Come back.
Come back. It's too cold. Otherwise I would have moved there. But I love Chicago, and I really love you. And I'm so happy for you to take this leap of faith into yourself and to believe in yourself and to use all of the experiences you've had and then bring them to us through your Instagram, you know, content. It's really, I watch it all the time. And as I said, that's something because I can't cook at all. So, and
well, I have to cook for you.
You said you teach me one time online.
I will come to you. I will teach you whatever you want to make, as long as it's vegan.
Okay, well, that's good, because I'm always told you should go vegan. So I'm going to take you up when you come to Los Angeles.
Yes.
My kitchen, I'll eat, you'll teach.
That is perfect. We just made a date on Instagram Live.
Anyway, the book is beautiful. I wish you all the luck in the world with it. And we will put this up on the Sunday paper this Sunday in our Parental section and promote it and do what we can to be a part of your great success.
Thank you so much, Maria. Your support, it really means the world to me. Coming from a woman of your strength and character, I can't even. It's amazing.
Thank you, Joanne. God bless you, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
She's going to go, and I just want to remind everybody again, this is the book, the Korean Vegan Cookbook. It says Reflections and Recipes from Oma's Kitchen, and it's really a beautiful book to have in your home. It's a great book to give to somebody. And obviously, as she was saying, there's a lot of research about a vegan lifestyle, a plant-based lifestyle, and its connection to cancer and other illnesses. So what we eat really does impact our bodies, really does impact our brains, does really impact our emotions, our focus, our mood, all of that. So I've tried vegan. I haven't been successful, but maybe this cookbook will help me get over the bridge. Anyway, thank you all so much for joining us here for Conversations Above the Noise. We'll put this up in the Sunday paper this Sunday. If you don't subscribe to that, I hope you will. It's a great free newsletter of news and views above the noise. And we have some of the greatest hearts and minds writing in there about how to navigate life as it is today in this moment in particular and move ourselves and each other forward. So thanks so much. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.